Hello everyone, this is my reaction to last Friday's Star Citizen Live Q&A, Hangars and Cargo.
One of the big questions folks had after they watched ISC was, how do we prevent unwanted people from getting into our personal hangar? But also, what stops people from just charging the outer doors and getting in there? What can you tell us about access restrictions?
The first thing I'll say is with everything, this is like the first release of this.
It's a first iteration, it's a first release. Really sounds bad for a $680 million project in year 12. Of course, no one expects a first iteration to be perfect, but would be nice if there would be some thought put into it at least.
For this release, the way that it's going to work is if somebody who is not in your party somehow ends up in your hangar, then what we'll do is we'll treat it kind of similar to the impounding behavior that we have for the landing areas.
Well, this means if someone is in my party, he has full access to my hangar and he can steal my stuff. Why is this important? For example, in Overdrive Mission Chain, people partied with random people just to do the missions, which was actually quite nice. But now I would be very cautious who I invite into my party.
But we can do better. Like I said, we want to have improved security in the future.
We want to have improved security in the future. We are planning on it. We are working on it. Just admit you don't have a plan. You don't have a concept now in a $680 million project in year 12.
If I grab some, if I get in there really fast and I pick something up before I'm impounded, do I teleport out with my stolen booty?
You will, but I mean, it'll be considered stolen at that point.
Okay.
Yeah, like there's more to be done there, I think, to make that like a more well-founded experience. But like for now, yeah, you'll get it, but it will have been stolen.
Who cares if something is marked as stolen? Someone sneaks into my hangar, someone steals all my railguns, not to sell them, but to use them. 10 out of 10 CRG, very well thought through.
What about group members, party members? What's their access to your hangar like?
Yeah, so if they're in a party with you, if someone's in a party with you, they have access to your hangar, even if you're not there. You can go in when I'm not there. You can go in while I'm there. You can use the freight elevator kiosk while you're in there. You can use the item bank. We want to make multi-crew gameplay as seamless as possible. So this is something in particular that we were definitely really thinking about throughout the whole process.
He continues to say if someone is in your party, he has access to your hangar and he can steal all your stuff. CRG, you have to understand, people are partying with strangers too, just to do missions, which is actually quite nice. We need more than just partied, non-partied. We need a very detailed access control system where we can tell certain people to have full access to my hangar and other people, no access to my hangar, even if you are in a party with me.
Says, what happens if you buy a larger ship after that? What happens to your hangar if you end up buying a ship that's too big for the hangar that you've been assigned?
You can't do it if the hangar isn't large enough. So instead, what would happen is you would be given what we call a public hangar. And a public hangar is similar to a personal hangar. Just the difference is that if you were to leave the location, anything that you left in that hangar will be cleaned up and thrown away. What we want to do in a subsequent release is to add a whole pipeline and feature set for upgrading your hangars, including like moving things around.
Exactly the reason why I hardly ever watched Star Citizen Live in the past. What we want to do, what we are planning, this feels like 1 to 4 people who want to make a space game. They are just starting out and they are brainstorming.
Players will be able to go into your hangar and access your inventory or access the freight elevators. Will they be able to access their own stuff inside your hangar?
Yes. You could come to my hangar and then have the choice in the UI about whether you want to take things using the freight elevator kiosk from your inventory or my inventory.
How many home hangars can a player have, and can they change the location after they choose them?
Just the one for now, and no, they can't change the home location for this release.
Are there plans to allow personal hangars that are not at the major landing zones?
Essentially, anywhere you can spawn a ship that has anywhere that has hangars will have personal hangars.
How are you going to make finding a party member's hangar not a scrolling contest in the elevator if you're in a large party?
When I'm in a party with somebody and then I call that hangar, I'll see their hangars at that location there as well as mine. But unless you have like a lot of party members, that list is not going to be long. And in fact, it's going to be much smaller usually. Usually it's going to be like 1 or maybe 2.
I guess Chad hasn't done the overdrive mission chain, and Chad was never a member of a huge org.
If a player is inside their ship, inside their personal hangar, and they log out from the ship bed, where do they wake up?
In this case, it won't be back in the hangar for this particular release.
Can we equip weapons in our personal hangars despite the armistice zones?
No, that's not going to be possible. You will be able to use the tractor beams in your in the hangars to be able to move things around, but you're not going to be able to pull out a gun. It's not going to be like a stand your ground law zone type situation.
People who are with this project for a long time know that we had a shooting range in our hangars before. Why not have a shooting range where we can maybe test weapons? Why not give us the permission to use guns in our own personal hangars? This would also make vehicle tests a lot easier. We could spawn vehicles in our personal hangar and use guns to test them.
How does manual or auto loading work at outposts, scrapyards, and other non-hangar specific locations?
The answer is it won't. So if there's not a hangar, you won't have auto loading as an option. So the outposts, the smaller locations in the game are going to only trade in smaller volumes and smaller box sizes. So like 1 SCU, 2 SCU. And the idea is that like those places, you're going to just manually load it yourself. And you wouldn't show up with a C2 and fill it with like 700 SCU of 1 SCU boxes and then have it automatically pack it for you. That's not the point of that location in the game. It's not the route that we want that to satisfy.
Where do I start? What are people doing in a Caterpillar where the door, ramp, elevators still don't work? What are people doing in a Carrack where we still cannot detach the cargo pods? And what happened to Tony Silverback 7 years ago? We actually have a pretty comprehensive design right now. And now it turns out, 7 years later, CRG, you still have nothing. You have no NPCs helping us. You have no machines. All you have is a magical handheld tractor beam where we can move crates, containers with masses exceeding 100 tons without any effort.
Steve Apollyon asks, are there any plans on cargo loading of the bigger ships such as the whole series of ships, and is the loading at a space station or even planetary going to be automatic, or will we have a specialized small cargo loading ships similar to Argo to load manually if we choose to, similar to the Argo?
Yeah, we have talked about the fact that we don't want the larger ships to basically just park it, click the button, and it's done. That these larger ships that have vast quantities of materials would actually take a significant period of time to unload and may result in missions for NPCs and or other players to actually undertake. We've actually got a pretty comprehensive design right now, but we're still iterating through that because we actually want to unify some of the functionality for loading and unloading.
Like if I have a big container ship and I pull into the port of LA here at Long Beach, there's a whole setup. There's longshoremen, big cranes, and there's service, and the crew of the container ship don't actually unload the containers themselves. There's equipment that does it, and there's people that are paid to do that. And I would say that in general, in sort of the bigger sort of spaceports, you would have that same kind of setup where you would have the ability to unload the bigger ships, unload the containers. Potentially, we've talked about having the ability for players to sort of play the part of a longshoreman if they're running around in a Largo and taking off a container from a Hully and dropping it to another place and doing that, or having AI do that. And then there obviously will be cases where, which is probably a later question we have here, but there'll be manual unloading and loading of cargo where you don't have the sort of big services, like if I just had a ship and I was off the coast somewhere and there wasn't a port, then obviously I would have to be doing it myself. And so I think we've been looking at ways that you have the sort of automatic option that's the services provided
Automatic
for
option
you.
when appropriate, but the fidelity so that
But
on these smaller ships you can
you
actually, and this makes for much more interesting gameplay in a lot of times, in a lot of different cases, because you can imagine scenarios to where you need to deliver a smaller quantity, a half dozen, a dozen, specific crates of some sort of, illegal liquor or something to somebody at a planet.
I think so the answer is there will be services, but we'll also have some specialized ships and equipment for unloading cargo.
Is the mass of cargo still planned to affect ship performance?
Yes, it won't for this release, but it's something that absolutely we've been talking about. Part of the problem is it's more like we would have done it, in fact, even this release, but there's some interesting, I'll put it like considerations for the physics aspect of it. Right now in the game, if it wouldn't be too difficult to make the cargo boxes that are attached to the actual cargo grids impact the mass of the ship. But the problem is that if you were to detach the cargo and just lay it in the ship, it won't, because anything that's inside the zone of the vehicle doesn't contribute to the mass of the vehicle at the moment.
Why not just say it? Star Citizen has very little physics and no one is expecting a perfect physics simulation in Star Citizen, of course. Ships, vehicles, wrecks, containers have the mass of an empty paper bag, and I don't think this will ever change. If a game wants to have some halfway believable physics, it has to be done from the start and not in year 12, because some halfway believable physics would break a lot of things in Star Citizen right now.
Will it be possible to differentiate storage containers via changes to either the name, the label, the color, or some other means?
We've definitely talked about and have plans for, not going to be in this release, but we definitely want players to lean into the inventory container boxes. And right now they're not differentiable.
A lot of games have writable storage boxes, or you can color code storage boxes, for example, one box for guns, one box for ammunition, and again, it's planned, we are looking into this. Yeah.
How much total SCU can the freight elevator hold at any one time, and are all freight elevator capacities the same at all locations?
They're all different. So there's 4 different sizes. There's small, medium, large, and extra large. I don't want to speak off the top of my head to the exact volumes of those because I'll probably misremember one. But they are different. And we want to basically encourage people to upgrade. The idea is that if you have a smaller ship, you shouldn't necessarily be able to do huge hauling runs.
So the lift that brings your ship up was one of the really cool reveals in the last the cargo episode 4 weeks ago. I got 2 questions about the ship lift here. One, will we be able to call up multiple vehicles simultaneously on a single vehicle lift?
Not for this release.
Is there any other location besides the personal hangars where the ship lifts are being used to deliver vehicles to you?
Not at the moment. No.
Okay. Hypothetically, if I go out to the plains of Lorville or Microtech and I coerce a kind and gentle Copian onto my ship, and I bring that ship back to my personal hangar, and then I coerce the kind and gentle Copian out of my ship into my personal hangar, and then I leave, does that Copian now persist in my personal hangar for all time?
Oh man. It's going to work. The way to think about what will persist in the hangars is just to think about what will persist in the ships, because it's identical. And I think people have probably seen the video of like people spending like a month collecting NPCs in the game and in their ship. So for now, for sure, if it persists in the vehicle, it's going to persist in the hangar. In this case, yes, I believe that the Copion would persist. I haven't personally tested that, but I'm pretty sure it would persist.
This was my reaction. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and see you next time. Bye. Auf Wiedersehen. Hey, you're still here. You might want to join me on Twitter. My Twitter account is Camural_SC.